this has never happened before in the history of iPhone sales, at least not to my experience in many, many years going to the store the day of to buy them. So the phone's been out over a day now. I checked this morning on the Apple Store. I can get every single color in basically every storage capacity at my Apple Store in the 16. Like you can get the 128, the 256, every color. The Plus, the only one that wasn't available in the 128 was the pink, I think, but all the other ones were. You could get the iPhone 16 Pro in any color. There were a few storage options that were gone, and the Pro Max was mostly sold out. You could still get a few of them. People really don't want the Desert Titanium. It was the most available. But anyway, yeah, I was really surprised by that. I fully expected. I know I said that the numbers were low, and apparently I guess the regular orders are low too. It seems people aren't that impressed with the phone that looks just like the phone that looked just like the previous phone that looked just like the previous phone. Call me crazy. But I've been getting a lot of that in the comments. But anyway, I'll get into more of that later. I've had the phone for right at about 24 hours, right? Just under that. I mean, we're going to round up just like they do in CCs and engines and things like that. Batteries, it's not really 5,000 milliamps. It's 400, 924. So I've had the phone, been using it. I got to say my battery life the first day wasn't that great. Of course, I never expect it to be the first day, and nobody should ever do a battery test in the first 24 hours. Why? Well, when the phone comes out of the box, usually it's not at 100%. Mine was actually at like 90, 91. I was surprised by that. But you do so much stuff on the first day. You're never going to replicate that experience again throughout the usage of your phone, unless you have to do a complete factory reset and reset everything up. But whenever you set up your phone, and I've already seen like battery tests and max, all this stuff, like that stuff is not accurate. It really just is not, because the first day you get your phone, as soon as you take it out of the box, it's running at 100%. A lot of people may even experience their phone getting warm on the first day, and they'll be like, wow, my phone's got hot, but it never does it again. Why? Because you're downloading, installing, setting up, configuring, transferring, doing all this stuff that you would never really do in another day. So it's like the worst day of the phone's life is the day you take it out of the box. Like it's your favorite, it's the most exciting day for you and the hardest day your phone will ever work. Also, I have to tell you something else, like another thing. This is a complete charade, right? So this microphone, I'm not actually using it. I have my Shure microphone that's normally messing up my collar clipped onto the back of it here, but I want to see. I'm really trying to make the audio better for you guys. I mean, I know it's okay, but I come back and I watch my videos later. I'm like, you know what? It's not as good as other folks. So I'm trying. So I'm wondering if it's closer to my mouth, that it can pick up maybe some of the bass better and not being down here under my two chins, then maybe it will work out better. But anyway, so I've had the phone for a day. Battery life the first day, I got like 4 hours and 40 minutes of screen on time, and I had like 10% battery left. So it's not inspiring. I was hoping for a little bit better. I remember back when I got the iPhone 13 Pro, and even on the first day, I got like 9-10 hours. So the iPhone 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max is still, in my mind, the biggest battery beast phone in the history of mankind. Like, you just couldn't kill it. So I don't blame anybody not moving from the 13 Pro series. I have been disappointed every year since then. I expected the 14 to be as good as the 13. No, it was terrible. I expected the 15 to be as good as the 13. No, it was also equally terrible. And there's like a tale of two cities here when it comes to the 15 series phones, because I had a horrible experience. 15 Pro Max, had it from day one, 87% battery health left. It was terrible when it came to battery and signal and heat. It would get hot all the time. I would pull it out. I shot just like 2 short videos in my driveway yesterday, and it was hot already after I shot like 60 seconds of video. It was incredibly hot. Or it would sometimes, when you were charging it, stop charging because it would say it would get too hot while it was charging to charge. So I had a terrible experience with it, but then there's a lot of people who had a good experience. So I think maybe there was a bad batch, some duds. I know software experience can change a lot of things, but I'm hoping for a different story with this. So in the last 24 hours, it did get slightly warm when I was setting it up, but otherwise no heat issues whatsoever to report so far. So I'm hoping that those days are gone, and I'm hoping that they fixed it. They did improve the thermals on the 16 Pro series, so I'm happy about that. The camera control, I mean, it's cool. Like, you can press it, and it starts the camera. Bam, just like that. So that's neat. And of course, you can use it with the slider. I'm using it with one finger right now, so woo, I'm crazy. Speaking of finger speed, I'm actually famous right now. You're watching a famous guy, because on Twitter, I did a video clip, and it pisses me off every year. Somebody's like, oh, let me do a speed test, and they sit there and they just open and close and open and close and open and close a bunch of apps. So me being funny and trying to get out ahead of this, I made a video. I was eating dinner yesterday with my wife at the seafood restaurant, and I had the phone on the table. I'm like, let me do this joke video. So all I did was I just opened the Twitter app, and then I was doing this really fast, a whole bunch on the screen. And I was like, oh, look at this speed test for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's so powerful, like LOL, laughy face. It has over 100-something thousand views. So it's just crazy to me, the things that go viral on Twitter. But anyway, or X. But yeah, the phone itself, it's about as exciting as this video. I mean, it's same old, same old. If you've got an iPhone and you go from the iPhone 15 to the 16, there's basically no difference whatsoever. I'm recording with my 15 Pro Max right now. The phones are basically the same, other than there's just this camera control thing on the side. There's really not much of an increase in performance, really not much of an increase in battery, really not much. I mean, the cameras are essentially the same, other than the ultra wide. So if you've got a 15 Pro or Pro Max, like, absolutely, unless you're just like me and have a mental disorder and you have to buy all the phones, like, don't go buy it. The 16, I'm actually more impressed with. I'm not impressed with the fact that it's still 60 hertz. I will say this in probably every video ever. But I do recognize that from like the general utility perspective, people that like the normal phone, they don't want to spend the prices for the pros. It's not a bad phone. It's not going to be a bad phone, and it'll get decent battery, and the screen does look nice, albeit it's clunky and slow for like 60 hertz. I don't like that. If you use the phone side by side, the ProMotion or 120 hertz versus it, like, you'll notice instantly, like, wow, this looks like choppy garbage. But if you don't notice and you're living in oblivion, it's a great phone. I mean, you got a lot of upgrades. Normally, I can't say you got a lot of year-over-year upgrades. Like the 15 Pro to the 16 Pro, it's like a tale of two cities. There's not really much upgrade. But then you look at the 16 or the 15 to the 16, you're like, I got camera control, I got some camera upgrades, I got the action button on the side, I got a 2-generation processor update. I mean, there are some things there. So if you're going from a 15 to a 16, I mean, yeah, you might be happy with the upgrade. If you're going from a 14 to a 16, probably pretty happy. If you're going from a 13 or a 12 or an 11, there's some substantial upgrades. So, and that's really the window. Like, look, I know that people that watch this video mostly are my fans and tech enthusiasts and stuff, and we all probably need a therapist, and we probably need medication to keep us from going out and buying phones all the time. But the normal person, and I'll bring my wife into this. I told her I was going to make a video about her, tell the world that she's a crazy Apple person, but she's not. She actually really likes Samsung phones, but she uses the iPhone for like Find My with the kids, and Life 360 was draining the battery, and she likes iMessage, and she had a bunch of group chats, which some of those things are out the window now with RCS support, which that's one nice thing. Of course, if you have a phone from the iPhone XS on up, 10s, 10R, you've got iOS 18, which does have nice things like RCS support and has some other quality of life improvements. I actually like iOS 18. I don't really have any problem. It's been the only iOS update I've been excited about in years. So iOS 18 is pretty cool. There's still no Apple Intelligence. But anyway, back to my wife. So I told her I was going to make a video about her saying she's a crazy Apple person. She's like, no, don't you dare. But she won't watch this, so I don't really worry about it. She won't kill me in my sleep. But I pay all the bills. So she was like, no, don't do that. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll interview. But anyway, so yeah, she can actually tell the difference, but she doesn't. So she can tell the difference between 60 hertz and 120 hertz. So she has to have a pro phone. But when it comes to upgrading, she doesn't care. And I think a lot of people in the Apple camp are kind of in that whole bucket, right? Not so much that you don't care about the new phones, yours just works fine, right? Or works fine for you. Most people are not tech enthusiasts. Most people are not crazy people like me who need 6, 7, 8 hours of screen on time on a phone. Most people I know that have an iPhone are like, it does what I want. Why do I need a new one? Most people, I think, that have iPhones, look at their iPhone a lot of ways they look at their car. Like, it still gets 30 miles to the gallon. The air conditioner still works. The seatbelt still works. It hasn't changed since the last time I drove it. Why do I need to go buy a new one so I can add another camera, like I don't care. It's not that big of a deal, right? So iPhones largely these days, one of the reasons I think they're not so exciting is just they're just such commodities. It's a commodity. It's not like, I mean, it is a luxury commodity because they're crazy expensive, and I don't ever want to undercut the fact that they cost like $1,000. So somebody that doesn't want to go spend that much money on a phone is not crazy, right? But people have different priorities and want to spend their money on different things, payment plans, carrier deals, all that stuff. There's a lot of ways you can get them, but a lot of people look at those price tags and go, no, I'm not spending that. And I don't blame you. So yeah, if you're in the year-over-year upgrade camp, it's just like with Samsung. The S24 Ultra was not a very exciting upgrade. I mean, there were some cool things there, like the titanium and the brighter screen, but I mean, the 200 megapixel camera, it's the same 2 years in a row. They made it squared instead of rounded. We're kind of at this point where it comes to most phones where year over year, you look at it and the picture doesn't change that much. It reminds me a lot of those time-lapse photos where you see a picture of somebody and like, okay, if you look at a picture from 1 week to 1 week, not much change. Maybe even a year to year. But if you look at it, 5 years or 3 years to this year, wow, that's some substantial change. And that's kind of how we are with phones. So if you're like 2, 3, 4 years removed, you're probably going to really like it, probably going to appreciate the updates. The action button, I love. I use the action button like nobody's business because I'm a very nocturnal person and I don't want to turn the light on to wake my wife up. So I'm always turning the flashlight on and flashlight off. So it's a huge help, but you can program it to do other stuff. So that's cool. Dynamic Island, it is what it is. I mean, if you've got an iPhone 15, you've already experienced that. But if you're coming from a 14 or a 13 or a 12, you get Dynamic Island, the notch is gone, action button, some pretty upgraded camera stuff, nice bright screen, 2000 nits. I know they're behind the nits game for Android. They still kept the same screen as last year. Basically, no bezels on the thing to report whatsoever. 6.9-inch screen. It's a big phone. And I am worried about the iPhone 16 Pro. I also got it. I'm kind of testing it in tandem. I want to see how the battery is on that one, but I'm not expecting great things. If I could barely get 5 hours out of this, I'm fully expecting I could probably still kill the 16 Pro in like 4.5 hours. So we'll see how that goes. But after a day, yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't sold out. I am and I'm not, because I think people are tired of the same old. But the experience is good. It's solid. The A18 Bionic, I mean, it's going to do everything you want to do. And that's one thing we have when you look at flagship phones. They have more power than they need. They have way more power than they need. So if you're using just Instagram or using X or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, if you're just browsing social media, if you're just shopping on Amazon, if you're just looking at Pinterest, if you're just texting and stuff, you're doing the same stuff that a chip could do 10 years ago. And you're never touching the surface on the amount of power this thing has. So you may not notice any difference in performance from a 5-year-old iPhone to this iPhone because you're doing the same stuff. Like as long as you have promotion like the 120 hertz or whatever, or if you've got 3 cameras, I mean, largely pedestrian normal people probably don't notice a whole lot of difference because you're not even tapping into most of the power. Having a flagship phone like this is like having a Corvette, but if you don't ever do anything with it, it's like never pushing on the gas. It's like always being in eco mode with 4 cylinders. Like it looks cool, it's really expensive, it's really premium, but you're never tapping into it. So that's why I don't get caught up in these speed tests. I don't get caught up in benchmarks. I don't get caught up on that stupid stuff because for 99% of the world, it's very, very immaterial. But anyway, so yeah, I like it. I don't like the colors. This desert titanium is very, very flat. It's very, very bland. I was hoping it would be a little bit more gold and exciting. It's not. The Pro colors suck, quite frankly. The normal iPhone 16 colors are amazing. The teal color, beautiful. So beautiful. While I was in the store, I decided to buy it. And that's one of the reasons that I was like really kind of catching on to maybe they're not selling as well, because that's almost unheard of. One, the fact that I was in the store and it was late. It was like 11:30 when I had my time. So when I got there, normally at 9, like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning is the time slot I'll get. And they'll be like, we're sold out. We have none. If you wanted one today, like you can't get one. And I was like, hey, do y'all have any of the 16s? They're like, yeah, which color do you want? We got all of them. I'm like, really? What about the Pro? They're like, yeah, anyone you want. I'm like, so you're telling me I could buy another Pro right now and walk out with it if I wanted to? And they're like, you can buy 2. Take it. We're trying to sell these. So I was like, this is really weird. Like, I've never experienced this before in an Apple launch. But anyway, apparently some places are still available. They're definitely available here in Houston. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got in this video. After a day, it feels just like the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but I have a different color, which I don't see because I put the case on it. The Apple Silicon case is basically the same as last year, and it pisses me off that they did not make a color-coordinated silicone one to match the Desert Titanium. Rage. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that I got. I'm probably not going to make much more iPhone content. I'll make my full review in like a week or whatever, but after using this almost for a day, I can say it feels just like every other iPhone. It's not exciting. If you're looking for exciting, look elsewhere, but you can test out the new stuff. Like I said, if you're coming from a 14, a 13, a 12, you're going to love it. There will be new exciting things for you, like the action button, dynamic island, the camera control, brighter screen. Hopefully you've got a Pro model with the ProMotion display, or hopefully you're just very happy with not having 120 hertz in a $900 phone. And that's a whole nother story for another day. But I'm going to get off here. Yeah, it's a good phone. It's expensive. It's new. Not much changed, depending on which phone you get. And I'm going to go eat some breakfast. So that's all I got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, whatever. Also, to the person who pointed out that the little tile over here was cockeyed, I fixed it. So I hope you're happy, and we can move on from that. So that's all I got. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and a little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. Go ahead and do that. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.